here you start getting CDs, and you start getting slides, and more envelopes.
The collection of Latino arts and activism at Columbia just acquired 5,000 images from El Diario La Prensa's collection.
Photo morgues from newspapers are really incredibly valuable because newspapers have big appetites and they cover the map.
La Prensa was founded in 1913, and it really was serving kind of a very intellectual class of people who were in exile in this, in this city. El Diario was founded in the 50s, late 50s, and that served primarily a Puerto Rican community. So when they come together in the 60s, it becomes El Diario La Prensa. And so the paper has always served the population that's here.
You see the evolution and the change in demographics, so a real solidly Puerto Rican community to more of a Dominican community to now a really diverse South American, Caribbean community. So the complexion has changed, and you see that throughout the years.
Photography is the medium that records presence. You have 5,000 images recording the presence of Latinos in the city in ways very different from the mainstream media. On the one hand, it's an issue of scale. For every one image that appears in the mainstream media, there's hundreds of images that appear in this collection. On the other hand, it's an issue of quality. The types of images that appear in mainstream media tend to be or represent a very narrow view of life, of Latino life in the city. While this collection has every aspect of Latino life. So you have culture, you have politics, you have everyday life, people going to school, people in the neighborhood, people jamming music in the corner, a very broad spectrum of life, Latino life in New York.
Revisiting El Diario's archives 18 years after I first was in contact with it as a young intern has been a very moving experience. I got this beautiful portrait of what it means to be Latino in New York, the struggle, the successes, the beautiful culture that we have.
For us, it's always been important that El Diario is El Campeón de los Hispanos, which is a slogan that came when it served the Puerto Rican community in the 50s, because people came to El Diario for things that newspapers don't necessarily do. People came for social services, people came for help in accessing services or negotiating through the systems. When I was here in the early 80s, we practiced the kind of journalism that had an advocacy role on behalf of this community. When I came back, 8 years later, Columbia was calling it civic journalism.
There are a lot of images that you won't see highlighted in other publications or captured. A lot of those first moments, just first moments of our community making inroads into politics, in social sphere, etc. There's one photo that we came across of Richie Perez, who is the former head of the National Congress for Puerto Rican Rights and is deceased, passed away several years ago, and former Brooklyn College professor, etc. I mean, a real activist, person who functioned with integrity, and he was a mentor of mine. So it's touching to see him in his heyday and younger and just, seeing that El Diario captured him in a moment that was so emblematic of his work and also the community struggles.
One of the early thoughts that we had when we started working Colombia and El Diario was that perhaps we should produce a book based on the collection and also a number of exhibits of the collection in different points of the city to celebrate the 100th anniversary of El Diario. We will have exhibits in various locations, including the King Juan Carlos Center at NYU, including here at the Center for the Study of Ethnicity and Race, and also at Columbia University Medical Center.
When you treasure something, when you want it to live on, you want an institution that's going to give it what we call the cariño, the care and protection, and also the accessibility to the larger public, so that people, whether it's an everyday person or researcher, has the ability to look at these photos and help tell the narrative, the complexity of the city that has yet to be told.
This is probably one of the richest sorts of sources that we could imagine. So we're really quite privileged and honored to be able to have this here, and grateful to El Diario in this its centennial year for making it available to us.
We are a New York institution, and that we need to live as a New York institution. And so what better place to kind of have an archive, and because of the very two strong iconic brands of El Diario and Columbia, I think it's a perfect partnership.